presentation, right? When I was in university, before I would do my presentations, I would often plan out right down to where I was going to stand. This actually is the sound space. Let me backtrack. This is actually my 5th year architectural thesis at UofT. I was trying to create a form of architecture based on what you hear instead of what you see. And within each of these columns is a microphone and speaker. And when you walk within this area here, when you step in, there's microphones that are adding reverberation and making you feel as if you're in a room. The idea was that this could be put outside. There could be a whole field of these things. And I'm creating rooms without walls. Barbering. I had to throw that in, right? I don't have any sketches. I can't find any. But at the time, in the 90s, when it was popular to have those really cool, funky designs in your head, I used to sketch those out. The other thing that was important, that was cool about barbering, was by me working in the barbershop, it taught me how to interact with other people, which I translated into my presentations. It helped me. The musical performances, the beatboxing, gave me the confidence to be in front of my peers and other architects and speak. I started to get more comfortable on stage. My point is, all these different things that you may be interested in doing, you can always extract certain things from them and reapply them in whatever you're doing. That's really what I'm getting at here. I was recently in a Disney movie called Jump In. So I always have little kids coming up to me, oh my God, you're that guy, you're that guy. So, you wouldn't think in acting there's really designing involved, but there is. When you have to create a character, you don't just put on the outfit and just act stupid, right? Or act that character or whatever, or act intelligent or whatever it is. You have to create a story for this character. Where did they come from? What was their childhood like? What is their job? Where do they live? What are their likes, dislikes? Creating, designing these characters. So, what does that character look like, or sound like, feel like, versus that character, right? Versus this character, right? Same person, 3 different personalities, and each one was designed. This was me on set for, it was actually a DVD movie with Jill Scott and Kevin Bacon. And I was just zoning and trying to get into character, and somebody took a picture of me at the time. The product / invention. So once again, that same shower curtain liner thing started out as a little sketch, right? I then went and wrote a very sort of detailed outline as to product benefits, and these are things that helped me with regard to the presentation and getting my idea out. And the actual sketch became part of the actual presentation that I did for UofT Creations, Inc. Abstract art. So as I mentioned before, the CBC, I've created numerous interpretive sound paintings. So people are like, what is a sound painting? Well, for me, a sound painting is like painting with sound. If you could imagine that, for me, my sounds are like my colors. My mouse is like my paintbrush, and my monitor is like my canvas. Put everything together. Okay? So, CBC, the first piece they asked me to do was, September 11th was a very catastrophic event, and they asked me to create 2 minutes of what 9/11 sounded like to me. And before I even created it, it started out as this little sketch here, this little waveform. Before any of this was added, it started out as it. And basically what I've done is, in this area, it represents New York on a regular day, the impact, chaos, frustration, etc., death and rebuilding. And then I broke off each area into numbers, correlated a description with it, took more notes, and then created the piece. So my point is, this was the sketch that drove that whole piece. So what you're doing is, you're really listening to the way this makes you feel, okay? And So, and it continues and it goes on. And I played that for one of my friends, and he got really emotional. And you know, sometimes it's hard for fellas, for dudes to show their emotion. And after I played it for him, he was like, what's wrong? He's like, it's nothing, man, I'm good, I'm good. And he said, I never knew you could say so much without using words at all. And he was so deeply touched by the piece when you listen to it from beginning to end. I want you guys once again to understand that piece came from that original sketch. There's one more example. CBC asked me to do a piece for the 25th anniversary of the subway. So I'm like, how do I, what do I do for a subway? They're like, I don't know, just do it. So I wanted to try and capture how multicultural Toronto was and so forth. These are the sketches once again, notes. And what I ended up doing, I won't play the piece because I don't have enough time, but I ended up abstracting different languages into instruments. And having, every time the subway doors would open, these instruments would talk to each other. And then as the day progressed, it would get louder, and as the day wore on, it would get less and quieter. And so these instruments would talk to each other. And so it was sort of an interesting take on it. But once again, they started out as these sketches. Once after having done the sketching and so forth, you also need to have a plan of action, okay, for what it is you're trying to create. Tools and materials. Think about, what do you need to make this thing come to life? Time management and a timeline. Very, very important. Be realistic. One word of advice: if you think something's going to take you 5 hours, plan on 10. Double everything, okay? Budget. How much do things cost to create? How much do you need for the product? Product idea and testing. The same with the CBC piece. I gave them 3 different pieces. They listened to it. They chose one that they liked, that it was in the right direction, went home, mastered it, gave it back. So product testing. Test out your ideas, okay? Logistics. When I was recreating those big columns for my presentation at UofT, those columns were 9 feet. So transporting them was an issue. And you have to really think about, how do you get your idea, your product to the location, etc., etc. And now you're ready to get to it, right? You're ready to do it. There's a few other things I may have missed, but I'm just trying to give you guys some of the, in my opinion, what are some of the most important tools when creating, okay? The end result, you guys are going to have a finished product, right? Finished product. Feeling of accomplishment, great. Overcome problems and problem solving. That's one of the best things that I learned. One of the greatest things I learned from doing architecture at UofT was the art of problem solving. Okay, just working things out, sketching, working it out. You can always use that in life. Something to show and feel proud of. Okay. Part of history. It's kind of cool to think that several years from now, somebody might listen back to that 9/11 piece and be like, oh my God, it was brilliant, right? But even if they didn't, it doesn't matter. It became part of my history, right? Sean Moore said, it's my history. So if you create something, nobody can take away the fact that that was created by you, okay? Something others can enjoy and experience. That's what I love about entertaining. Seeing the expressions and the way other people react to what I do. Something to add to your resume, very, very important, right? Always, 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 always document. Just keep your sketches, even if it's on a napkin. Photograph your models, keep your clothes, whatever it is you're doing, your little flyers you design, keep it, okay? And my favorite quote, I should say, not famous, but my favorite quote is, nothing ventured, nothing gained, okay? It's words I live by. My mother told me there was a time when I wasn't even going to apply to UofT. I didn't think I'd get in. And she said, Sean, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I gave it a try, and I got in. And to this day, I always use that. Success is just trying, and trying your hardest. That's what it is. Because if you don't try, you get nothing, okay?